I thought I knew what postpartum depression was until I was faced with the reality of postpartum depression. I have 3 children, and with the first one, I had some sad days. You know, every woman has to come back to normal. With the second one, I had some anger, a little bit of rage, some anxiety, and some sad days. With the third one, I found out what depression was. I found out what postpartum depression really was. And so I'm going to share my story. If it looks like I'm not looking at the camera, it's because I'm doing the front-facing video. But I'm going to share my story of postpartum depression. So I'm going to start with the symptoms. First of all, I cried so bad. I'm talking about months and months and months upon months of crying. I was probably dehydrated from crying so much. I didn't think I had that in me to the capacity to shed so many tears. It hurt so bad. It hurt so bad. And you know, I thought everything that I had gone through, and I'll get into the symptoms in a little bit more, but I almost felt like, man, is this my reward for giving life? To feel this terrible? And so I just felt terrible. Some of the symptoms that I'm looking at my notes here. One was, to start with, was confusion. I was so confused. I did not know what was happening to me. I didn't know what was happening to my body. I didn't know what was happening to my mind. I didn't know what was happening to me. I was so confused. 50% of the tears that I cried, I could probably feel half of this room, was from just being confused of what in the world is happening to me. Something is wrong. So I'm crying, I'm crying, I'm crying. That's all I have is tears. And, you know, confusion is one thing. I was avoiding responsibility. Anxiety levels to the roof. I wanted to run away from home. I wanted to run away from home. I did not want to be home. Home was no longer a place of peace to me. No issue, you know, to nobody else. There's nothing really going on at home. Children are just being children. But to me, it was not a place of peace. I did not want to be at home. I wanted to be away from home. I wanted to be away from people. That is not like me. That is not who I am. I love people, okay? I thrive off of being in a room with genuine people, laughing, talking. I didn't want to be around nobody. I didn't want to go to work. That is never me. Having to call off from work from being depressed. What? Me? Listen, it was terrible. It was a whirlwind. I had a hard time attaching to my son, my third baby, which I had the postpartum depression. I could not attach with him. Around month 5, I'm doing extra skin to skin. I'm trying to breastfeed him as much as I can, which honestly, breastfeeding was cut short because I couldn't handle it because I was depressed. And so that makes you more upset because whatever. So I couldn't attach to my son. What else? I just was very angry. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where was my heart. Who is this person? What is going on? It was absolutely horrendous. It was terrible. I would not wish it upon my worst enemy. Okay. You know, being a child of God, going through postpartum depression really did take my relationship with God to another level. Because he was literally all I had. All I had to depend on. You know, this story goes so deep, but I'm just talking about the postpartum depression. Oh my God, it was tough. So, well, let me introduce myself. I'm Tiffany. Welcome to my channel. This channel is for women who is struggling with postpartum depression. You are looking for answers. You are looking for what is going on with me. If you're looking for, I don't know how to explain what's going on, this is what this channel is for, because I looked up video after video after video. Nobody could explain to me what I was actually experiencing. Every journey is definitely different. So that could be why. But for me, I could not find anything on it. And so here we are, and we're talking about just my journey with postpartum depression and unresolved trauma. Okay, that's huge. So 2024, I have my son, Valentine's Day. Greatest Valentine's Day gift ever. He comes along, my husband, I have a cesarean. This is my second cesarean, but third child. My husband comes in the room. He had to rush 40 minutes away because they're getting ready to basically do a emergency C-section because I went into labor, but he wasn't ready to come out vaginally. So my husband comes, he holds my hand, he says, Happy Valentine's Day. And so the greatest Valentine's Day gift ever. 2024, I have my son. You know, we get home, things are going great. I'm listening to just my church music. My favorite one to listen to was Antoine Cooks. I know my son's spirit knows Antoine Cooks because that's what we had constantly, you know, listening to get through this postpartum phase. And so we're at home. We're doing good. I'm doing everything to avoid the baby blues in which that I had baby blues with my second child. So I'm doing everything that I can to kind of like avoid that, just heal and all those different things. But man, my heart was just so, everything was just so weird. I felt like the enemy really tried to steal my faith in this process. There was so much that I was struggling with internally. And so one thing that I can say that I felt during this process, I just felt like I needed to be loved, right? I needed to be coddled. I felt like the baby. So I felt like the baby. And this is where the unresolved trauma comes in. Basically around month 8, which was unexpected because I thought by this time I'm supposed to get back to normal. Oh, but it was just the beginning of woes for me, okay? Listen, I end up having October 1st of 2023. Mind you, my son was born February. October 1st is when the postpartum depression hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm depressed. I'm basically down and out for 3 days. I don't want to go to work. I had to call in to work, let my boss know I'm struggling with postpartum depression. That alone was very embarrassing because I'm not that type to be like, I'm depressed, let me not go to work. What? That wasn't me. Who was that? So I called my boss. Thank God. She was very gracious. She was very understanding. And I was 1,000 times grateful for that. So anyway, I'm calling out of work. Mind you, one of the symptoms, I don't want to go to work. I didn't want to be around people. That's not like me, period. So I go through that, and that was just like the first sign of the postpartum depression for me. Or like the very, very beginning of what I'm really experiencing. So I had my baby at Advent Health. I called them. I let them know, hey, I'm really struggling with this. I need help. It was like, okay, we're going to get you connected with someone who, OB who's familiar with this. They deal with patients like this all the time. And, you can meet with them. So that night, though, October 1st, I didn't meet with Advent Health, but I did go to a nearby hospital. I go to the hospital, and I'm so grateful because the nurse that I have at the hospital said that his wife went through postpartum depression. And so God gave me someone who was understanding for me. I go to the hospital. I tell them, look, I'm depressed. Of course, I wasn't this animated, but I was like, I don't know what to do. They give me a hospital room. I rest there. I immediately feel kind of like, because it's just me, right? I'm not at the house. I'm not being a mom. I have no other demands. And the doc comes in, talks to me, gives me a few tips on, he didn't want to medicate me. So he's like, hey, take some walks, eat well, different things like that. So I'm going through this phase. This phase it was a good year. From October 1st, literally to October 1st, a good year of just pain, period. Burning, anguish, anger. I'm going through so much. I finally end up meeting with a few weeks later, meeting with the OB. And the OB at Advent Health gave me medication. It was Zoloft. And she's like, hey, let's just sertraline. Hey, let's just, put you on this for now and just see how it goes. Give yourself a break, mommy. So I'm like, okay, I'll try it. Now, my religious antennas went up. I was like, nah, I'm not finna do no medication. You're not doing that. But I was like, hey, let's just give it a shot. I take the medication and it worked. Okay. It worked. For the time being, it worked. It got me back on my feet to where I can kind of like function normally. I was happy. Took my appetite a little weight away, so I lost a little weight. So I was feeling good. It definitely worked really good for anxiety too. So I was feeling good. But then I started having symptoms of from the medication. One in which they don't tell you. First of all, it takes your hair out. For me, that was my experience. I was losing my hair like crazy. Still trying. It's still coming back, by the way. So anyway, I stopped at cold turkey. I do not advise that because by January I was calling them back, and that episode hit me again with the really, really down depression where I couldn't get up and do anything. And so I started taking the medication again. Meanwhile, I get connected with a counselor. So I'm talking to a therapist, and the first therapist, she was calling, she was asking questions. She was we didn't connect like that. Let's just say it like that. The first therapist, we didn't connect like that. And I had 3 conversations with her. And in these conversations, she's like, on the third one, she was like, hey, look, it seems like you're okay. I was on the Zoloft. It's just like, you seem like you're okay. Let's just get you off the medication. So I'm like, okay, fine. But January, I call her back. This is in October when I started, maybe talking to them. But January, I call her back. I was like, hey, listen, I need help. I don't feel myself. I don't feel good. And, all these things. She was like, well, I can't talk to you right now, but let me connect you with somebody else. And I was like, okay. They connect me with someone else. And let's just say she was a godsend. Okay. That was just the Lord to connect me with somebody who understood me, understood my spiritual life, and I was able to freely talk about God and just what God was doing. I went through so many levels of unpacking things, so many layers. It's too much to put into a 20-30 minute video. And so it's I'm gonna have to write about it. It's gonna have to be a book. But God uses this woman in my life to help me break down some amazing things. A part of the anguish, a part of the anxiety, the anger, the confusion, the disassociation, the avoiding responsibility, all of that had to do with unresolved trauma. Y'all, trauma is nothing to be played with. Oh my goodness. God bless anyone who's had anything traumatic happen to them, period. For me, the birth of my children or my son brought up the unresolved trauma that I had experienced in life. Long story short, I was born with crack in my system. My mom is now saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, but she was doing drugs at the time of my birth and during her pregnancy with me. So needless to say, they found drugs in my system, and I had to be taken away from my mom. I didn't go home with her immediately. So I was in foster care for at least a month of my life, and separated from my mom. That alone is traumatic for a baby, because that's not the way it's designed to be. And so those first feelings that you're supposed to get with mom, oxytocin that's being released that causes you to attach, didn't happen for me. So long story short, my grandmother takes me in, right? About a month later, she takes me in, and this is her second time taking in a child, one of my mother's children at that, and because 5 years prior, she took in my sister. And so I come along. So grandma really didn't want me, but I'm sure she felt the responsibility to take me anyway. I had a heart murmur. I ended up going with grandma. My mom was still in and out. Now, what's interesting is I don't remember much of my life before 4 years old. I don't know what happened, during this time. But a lot of things that I was experiencing in life, like fear, anxiety, just, normal things, came from unresolved trauma. That unresolved trauma was not having a secure attachment with mom in my life. So anyway, my grandma takes me in. I remember my grandmother telling me that I would cry. And she would put me, now don't come from a grandma now, she's 92 years old, but she would put me in a room by myself to cry. And when she would come back, I would have all my clothes off. And I'm like, Lord, just thinking about if I can imagine leaving my 2-year-old son or daughter in a room alone, just crying, and by the time I come back, all their clothes are off. And just think about it, it's a child in distress. My grandmother recounts that story. I don't know how many times she actually did it, right? So anyway, I only know these stories because they told me. Listen, if you know anything about psychology, if a child's needs are not met between 0 and 4 years old, those 4 years of formation, I think I'm saying that right. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. You're going to go look for it. Whether you're 30, if you have not dealt with trauma, it doesn't leave you until it's dealt with. But thank God, God opened a door for me to deal with it. So anyways, all this, postpartum, all of this stuff is coming up. I'm talking to my therapist, and I tell her, I'd say, I feel like a baby. I want to be coddled. Like, I'm being vulnerable right now, telling all my business. I want to be loved. I want to be touched. I want to be all these things. And I told her, I said, I feel like a baby. What is wrong with me? What is this? And lo and behold, God is walking me through all of this. He's really guiding me. He's very gentle with his approach, just dealing with, tons of issues of the heart. And lo and behold, I'm re-experiencing my childhood. Mind you, I have no conscious memory of anything that happened before 4 years old, but I'm reliving it. I feel it on the inside. What that baby felt when she was separated from her mother, I can feel it. I can feel it. It hurts so bad because I couldn't get the proper attention that I needed. And so that was my unresolved trauma. Rejection and abandonment. Now, spiritually, we can take this this would be a whole lesson. God has taught me so much about rejection and abandonment. Too much to really talk about here, but I can definitely put it in a book, let me tell you. But God, that's what God wanted to heal me from. 2020, the beginning of 2025, he told me three things. I needed to be healed. He told me to serve, and he told me to take the humble route. The service and the humble route came much later. But the healing, he wanted to heal me. And there's a lot of things that's attached to rejection and abandonment. A lot of things that I just did unconsciously, that once the Lord healed me, I ain't do anymore. And I was like, oh my goodness, that was connected with rejection. That was connected with abandonment. So that was, I find it, going through having children, they're beautiful people, very rewarding. And it's really hard going through postpartum depression, and you feel like this is supposed to be the time of my life where I'm supposed to be enjoying my children, and I can't. But a part of me, avoiding the responsibility, the disassociation, all of that came from trauma. I remember even coming from a church service one night and crying so bad that this trauma began to manifest itself. I'm like shaking uncontrollably and praying like, God, I was just so hurt. And just having, even just issues and problems at home really brought up a ton more of just feelings and things from the past just begin to manifest itself. So I made this video to just shed some light on postpartum depression, to shed some light on unresolved trauma, to shed light on, listen, to any woman who's looking for answers of what's happening to me, what's happening to my body, what's going on mentally. I know I looked for some videos to kind of find out what the heck is happening to me, okay? Couldn't find any, but I just want to talk to just the mom who's experiencing any postpartum depression, whether it be baby blues, anything. Hold on. Do not give up. There are women all over the world who experience postpartum depression and they don't make it out. Unfortunately, the resources are scattered. You become another person. I know for me, it put me in a very vulnerable position that I was very embarrassed. It was very hard. Thankfully, I'm an open person. Well, I'll tell the person sitting next to me, I'm going through postpartum depression. Pray for me, you know. But everybody's not made or wired that way. If you see a mother and they had just had a baby, or their child is 2 years and under, just do me a favor, ask them how they're doing, how they're genuinely doing. Okay? Love on a mother. We don't know what they're going through. And so I'm here to shed light for postpartum mothers. This channel is for postpartum care and support, postpartum and beyond. We're going to be talking about some motherhood stuff. So, well, God bless you. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. I'm telling you, I cried so many tears in this process. And I told the Lord, I am determined. I am on a mission that every tear that I've shed, a soul will be saved. I'm not kidding. Because that was a very painful process. But I know that it was unto something. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for more postpartum care support information. God bless you. Have a great one.